What's up, guys? It's Wacka. Welcome you to Sacred Draft Shrine Power Rankings for Season 2. I'm joined here today with Ryan. If you want to introduce yourself.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? It's your boy. I'm just kidding. Yeah, we out here doing the Sacred Draft Swine Howie Wankies. Let's
Hell yeah.
go.
And we're unfortunately not joined by Jaden Boss moment.
Jaden failure moment. For
yeah,
real.
This is a Jaden failure moment, actually. So unfortunate. And also, I'm pretty sure Ryan meant to make like all these random things gifts, but they're just gonna be pictures. So pretend like
I was very lazy.
so
Yes.
so I don't know, this season we decided to unban a bunch of random crap, and we decided to put a bunch of random crap bans on a bunch of stuff like Kieran Black and Negazam, Darkrai, Naganadel,
Yep, free Magirna.
Yeah, I know, we didn't free Magirna, you people suck. Anyway, yeah, we have stuff like Blaziken too. I don't remember the rest of them. There's probably like 10 that I forgot. I guess Necrozma, but no one drafted that shit. Spoiler alert.
That's the only one that no one drafted. Everyone else has
that's really sad.
Everything that's 15 points or higher is off the board, except for Necrozma Dawnwing.
Necrozma. Unfortunate. I should have allowed that thing to like autotomize, but yeah, anyways, yeah, let's just get started with number 16, which you all are here for. At 16 we got Pablo. And I feel bad for putting this team at 16 because it has a Chestnut, and it has Chestnut, which is my mascot, and it has Excadrill, which was my old mascot, and it has an Audino. So like, how can Wacka not like this team? Well, first of all, there's a Tapu Lele. Second of all, there's a Dracovish. Third of all, there's a Spectrier. So, I mean, that kind of evens out to a pretty bad team. But the thing about this is that it's just the top 4 mons are like, you need to bring a specific mon to wall me, and if you have that mon, I lose, because the rest of my mons are just a bunch of defense that can't do anything. And if you look at his defensive mons, he has like Chestnut, Registeel, Mega Audino, and I guess Hippo, which like isn't that great.
And, like, with that,
Chestnut and Registeel are both pretty weak to fire, and the fire switch in is like Dracovish, which isn't horrible, but you don't really want to risk Dracovish getting burned. So I don't know, having a better fire resist on this team would go a long way, and having maybe like less button smashers that have more synergy would be pretty cool, because a lot of these are just going to be, especially his top 4 minus a fish, like their best sets are like Specs or Scarf, and Darkrai is not allowed to plot. I guess you can charge beam, but it doesn't really have a reliable setup, and so basically half his team is just going to be running like Specs or Band. And
I think
yeah,
it's a cool team. I would have liked to see Gigalith over the little Hippo, but
right.
It's a lot of monster buttons. Vish, Drill, Spectrier, Lele, Darkrai. It's tough to switch into all of those. Plus, you add in a setup Volcarona threat, but you're gonna have to bench 1 or 2 or 3 of those just so you can bring Chestnut and Registeel, so you don't just get reverse swept by your opponent. So.
Right, like a Ditto versus this team would be like very scary. If you don't bring Mega Audino, you lose to Ditto Spectrier, like, and if you don't bring Registeel, you lose to Ditto Tapu Lele pretty much, and that's like not a good look. But I don't know. I think, like Ryan said, Gigalith would be pretty good. It's a rock type, but it has decent defensive utility. I can't talk. It doesn't share a lot of weaknesses with Drill like Hippo does. Like, I think Hippo's a really good sand setter if it's not paired with Drill. If you pair it with like Dracozolt or something like that, sure. Yeah. you have it with Vish, which is like fair enough, but none of those really want to deal with like grass types really. And you have Volcarona, but you also want to bring Lele, Darkrai, Spectre to like a lot of games. But I think if you add Gigalith, that would help a lot. It gives you a fire resist. It gives you like just a more reliable mon than Hippo, because Hippo is pretty much just fodder once it's knocked, and you can't even run like soft. What is it? Soft sand.
Yeah.
Smooth rock, yeah. So you can't even get the extended sand, which you would really want with Vish and Drill. Like if you want to go Gigalith and then let's say Drill gets like 2 kills and then it dies, then you could go Vish with your extra turns of sand and sweep with Vish or like whatever way around. But like overall, not a horrible team. I just think it needs work on its defense. I think you could probably afford to drop Spectre, or yeah, I would say probably Spectre for like a better sand setter, and then like upgrade a Mulga to a better electric or a better flying, or both.
Yeah, I agree.
Like Thundy could work even. I don't know. You could even drop Volcarona, although Volcarona is really nice, but you already have like 4 mons that kind of force prep already. I don't know. Or just like a pure fire type, so it's like another fire resist maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've made enough points about Pablo. I think we can move on now.
Yep.
What do you say?
So at number 15 we got Doc D. I think this is the team that a lot of people thought was gonna get like dead last by a long shot, but honestly, if you look at the team together, it's like not that bad. He traded Torn for Blaziken, or he traded Blaziken for Torn after the draft, and I mean, I'd say Blaziken is probably better, but Torn on this team I think fits pretty well. And other than I think Jolteon and like Lapras and Skuntank, well, Skuntank is fine. I would say maybe like Stoutland as well. This team is like really good outside of those. You have a lot of offensive threats, not so much a defensive. Like, I guess you could argue Torn could be defensive, or like Starmie, Stack Attack, a Crook maybe. Decidueye, they're not very great though. And Jolteon makes 0 sense on this team with Zeraora, because Zeraora is just better in like every way besides hitting on the special side. And you're never going to use Jolteon over Zeraora unless it's like a Baton Pass league, which Baton Pass, passing stats and sub is banned here, so yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, this team's got lots of pivots. I really like it, like Torn U-turn, Zeravolt switch, Decidueye U-turn, Starmie flip turn. Like, it's good. If you swap Jolteon, Lapras, and Stoutland into like better bulky water, or not even better bulky water, just something else. I don't even know exactly what would be the perfect fit. This team would be really good. I like Kozera and Mega Charizard X pair together, because
the top 3
your opponent's gonna bring their bulky water for Zard X, and Zeraora is gonna take advantage of that.
Yep.
But you have 3 really bad mons on your team, so
yeah, I don't understand the idea of Stoutland like at all. Like, Intimidate is cool, but usually you see Stoutland on sand teams, and even then that's like it's barely ever seen on a sand team, and there's no sand, so I don't really get why it's there. Like, you could maybe no, never mind. I was gonna say like Quillfish instead of Lapras and Skuntank, but Jaden has Quillfish, so
he does.
I don't know. At least you have good removal. Well, I wouldn't really say it's like good removal, but it's like you have enough removal to where one of your mons can run Defog or spin with Starmie so that Zardex can come in pretty much for free. So I like that.
Also, swap your Zmon to Stakataka, please, and thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the Decidueye is like cool, but the reason why Stakataka is 12 points and not like 8 is because Stakataka is like pretty insane with Z moves. So it'd be cool to see that. You could even do like, I feel like I've seen like Z Crook or Starmie. Like, you have a lot of good Zmons, but like Jolteon and Decidueye are like not it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think we could move on.
Yeah, not too much else to say.
Alrighty. Next up, we got Jerry. I don't know. Do you want to start?
I can start. This is definitely one of the weirder teams as it was getting drafted.
Yeah.
But I think it looks a lot better on paper now that it's kind of played out. I like the Genesect Heatran play. With Genesect, you want to get a really good Flash Farm on, and you probably got the best. Tran and Rotom Wash pair together great. I think Zam and Dragonite are two really cool mons. You got a Fat Wish Passer and Aromatisse. Z Virizzion's cool. Z Articuno Galar is cool. I love Seismitoad as a bulky water. I just really don't like Mega Sableye personally, but I kind of get it. It's a cool team. I'm not super scared of it, prepping against it. But
yeah, I don't really
be interested to see what he does with Genesect for sure.
For sure. Unfortunately, I don't think he's played week 1 yet. I don't know if he or John Paul are going to play week 1, but I kind of want to see how this team turns out. I think it's very strange. I don't understand why there's an Articuno Galar at all, especially when Dragonite's a good offensive flying and Alakazam is just a better psychic type. I don't know. You could add like a poison type. Isn't he missing a poison type? Yeah.
Yeah.
A poison type could be cool. You don't even really need a poison type because you have 2 steals. You have Magic Guard, Rotom Wash, Dragonite, and then you also have Magic Bounce. So it's like not needed, but I think defensively poison could be cool. And on this team, I don't know about Mega Sableye. I feel like Mega Sableye on a team that's not Stall is not very good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's horrible, but I don't see it doing a lot of work. It kind of just drops to Moonblast, but you also have 2 steel types that do really well versus most fairies. Like, I don't think Heatran loses to any huge fairies.
Yeah, not too many get ground type coverage, so.
I do really like Genesect and Heatran together. Like, sure, it's 2 steel types, but they synergize really well. The Flash there. So that's cool to see. It also covers rocks, since Genesect doesn't get them unless Ballhawk like forgot to put it on there or something. I don't think it does.
Doesn't.
Yeah. This team also looks kind of slow, but I don't really see a huge gap with speed tiers other than like Seismitoad to Aromatisse, which like doesn't matter.
It kind of, I think it's gonna really rely on like Scarf Genesect a little bit more than it would like to.
Yeah.
Because the Scarf options are like Scarf Rotom Wash, which is usually only running Scarf to trick it away, and then like Scarf Eruption Heatran, which is good, but it's not something you want to repeatedly bring, and you're not really running Scarf Zam, maybe Virizzion in a weird scenario, but probably not. So I feel like it's going to kind of force Genesect into be that
Scarf
speed control thing.
I feel like it's just like not a good Scarfer. Unless you, like, you can run Adamant or Modest with the Scarf, but like you still don't really do enough damage. But I'm under the impression that I've never seen a Virizzion do anything before, so hopefully he can make it work. His team got a lot better with trades, for sure. I don't even remember what the team was like before I know that Dragonite is new. I think there was like a Flygon. Yeah, it was like a Flygon. But I think you could replace Articuno. I don't really see a point of it being there. And you could kind of
Yeah.
do what you want with it from there. You could even upgrade Verzion to like, I don't know, Breloom if you could replace its speed tier. I don't know, it's up to Jerry. Overall, not a horrible team though.
Yeah, as you can see so far, like the overall score between these teams is like really close.
Yeah, there's like there's not a huge difference between like the bottom and the top, in my opinion.
Yeah.
None of the teams here like suck in any way. But anyway, next up we got Jacky. I guess I kind of want to start because I looked at this team a lot, like week 1 when we faced, and like this team has like it's really strange, I guess. Like the bottom 4, just like they're very niche, I guess. Zeolol and Persian's pretty cool with like Z Parting Shot is like pretty much a free healing wish without dying, but you don't get like the heal bell off of it if I remember. I don't know, you have Mega Zam and Kieran Black, which kind of work together well in the terms of like one of them will end up breaking a steel type so the other one can like sweep. And then from there you have Ferrothorn that's pretty good at chipping things down with spikes and iron barbs and helmet. You have Crobat that gets like super fang. Mienshau's really good Scarfer that can get a lot of chip with U-turn and knockoff. Sylveon in general is like a pretty defensive mon, but Hyper Voice hits a lot of teams hard. Donphan's pretty good at spinning. Golisopod's a water type, I guess. And I guess Raticate is a normal. I don't really see the point in Raticate if you could upgrade Golisopod to a water type that doesn't switch out without you wanting it to.
Yeah. This team needs a fire resist bad.
This team, yeah, it's a fire resist and a flying resist. Like, if you watched my battle versus him, like, he kind of just folded to Moltres. And his switch-in was Magmortar. And Magmortar in itself is, like, not a very great mon. With Z-moves, I think it's a lot better, though. Because you can run, like, the Z-Grass Solar Beam. But that would be if Jag remembers to click it next time. Which he should.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I think the speed tiers are pretty good, and he's a few decent pivots, albeit most of them are kind of low tier other than Mienshao Crobat.
I think Scarf Mienshao is gonna have to come a lot with no boosting Kieran Black. Really kind of hurts it because you're either forced into running Scarf Kieran Black or just like Boots, and then if you're Boots, then you're revenged by like literally everyone else's offense.
Yeah,
people have a faster dragon or a faster fighting or something to easily revenge it.
Most people have like Scarf fighting types or Scarf like fairies or like Mega Diancie or something like that. On this team, I feel like I don't even know what he could do to really make it better. I would say start with Golisopod and make it into a real water type. Like, it's cool, but you kind of fold the fire. You also kind of fold to flying because you don't have your steel type is a Ferrothorn, which is like it's okay versus some flying types, but like you really don't want to stay in on like Torn T, Heat Wave, or Hurricanes in general, especially if you get confused. Once you lose Ferrothorn, you kind of just get Hurricane, or even like Scarf Togekiss Air Slash kind of just 6-0s.
Yeah, a couple lucky flinches, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah, I feel like he could probably go like Golisopod to Lantern. I don't think Lantern's like that great, but at least with like minimal changes, I think it works.
Hmm.
Um,
And it's another pivot. I think that's another thing this team kind of lacks.
a good.
None of like the top mons have pivots unless you're running like Baton Pass Sylveon
Yeah,
frequently.
all of his pivots are like really fast too. I think having a good slow pivot would be cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, yeah, I think moving on, we got John Paul. Um,
Jamal Paul.
do you want to
You
start?
graded this team especially, so you should probably go here. But offense, that is the name of this team. It is offense.
It's offense plus a Kecleon, which in of itself, like if you run protein, you always have stabs, so it's not even weak. This is like one of those. This is the team you'll see at the bottom. His overall score is 28, and his actual score is 26. It's because I feel like it's actually a pretty good team. That's based around hyper offense, but the what do you call it? The
scoring system.
Yeah, the scoring system makes it look worse than it really is. Because his team does not focus on defense like at all. His best defensive mons are like Melmetal, Prim, and like Vikavolt, Delmise, sometimes Entei. Like the defense isn't great. I think in certain situations it'll work if he really needs it. But he also has those mons where this is the type of team where you need those defensive mons for, if that makes sense. Like you need like your dedicated switch-ins like Prim or Nidoking.
Yeah.
So having like all those mons together is like pretty good for him.
One thing I really like about this team is, even though it's hyper offense, he got a lot of those offensive mons that can still be good on the defensive end. Like bulky Megaladios is a good briefing. Like it's a great, like kind of specially offensive like check to waters.
Yeah, Megaladios.
Obviously defensive Melmetal is a thing. Like Spidef for like AV Nidoking, I've brought that a bunch against electric types. Bulky Vikavolt, I bring all the time, and bulky Delmise. It's a lot of things that can still do their job on this hyper offensive team, but still take a hit.
Yeah, Delmise is really cool at like checking things like Coco, and it has enough defense to be able to stay alive. It has synthesis too. And like this team lacks Wish, but his defensive mons like Vikavolt, Delmise get recovery, and the rest of his team is based on breaking shit till they die. And I think also...
some more.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I think some more pivots would be nice. Right now it's Flip Turn, Primarina, and Volt Switch Vikavolt.
And Zoroark.
And I guess Zoroark U-turn. I would have liked something better, especially given that like your top 3 mons all don't pivot. I think that hurts it a bit, but
yeah,
again, this is a scary team to prep for because you're not likely going to be able to bring a full team that can cover all of this offense.
Right. And I feel like the thing that's cool with this team is that he could kind of just build with whatever he wants, and then in the middle of the match is when he can be like, I have this still, and it kind of wins. So he can like kind of create his own win cons like mid-match if it's not as clear like in prep what exactly is going to win. Like he could go into a match and then like maybe his Primarina will die, and then he'll see, oh, Shaman Sky kind of can, if I can sub on this thing, then I can win. Or if you delete all of his opponents like fast mons, Nidoking could win, or
Mhm.
like Entei. Like he can kind of pick and choose any week he wants what mon is going to try and win the game for him. And I think that's cool. And also Mega Latios is allowed to set up, so be wary of that. I think next we will go on to the other side of the spectrum with the
Oh man,
all team, I guess. I don't know.
I guess I can start.
Yeah,
when I first looked at this team, I was like, man, this is stall, and I don't like it. And then I took a second look, and I'm like, can I even call it stall? Because there's still a Bolt, a Mega Metachan, like Clef can be offensive, Nidoqueen can be offensive.
right.
So I'm like, it's stall, but it's also not stall. But I also don't like it because it is still stall, kind of.
I would say it's like semi-stall. It would be like something Wacko would have drafted like a few months ago. But people don't really do that anymore, so I haven't. But like, yeah, you could go really fat with Clef, Core, Vape, Nidoqueen, Tangrowth. To an extent, like Assault Vest, Heliolisk can be really fat, and Polt could be really annoying with like lefties sub. So you could stall in that way, but you could also break with what Ryan said: Polt, Clefable, Medi, Nidoqueen, Heliolisk, Tangrowth sometimes, Absol. This team honestly would have looked pretty cool if you had like Sun. I'm just noticing, like, I think Ditto is like the same amount of points as like Ninetales if you wanted to go down like the Sun route. You probably don't want Sun with like Corv, but Heliolisk and Tangrowth are pretty good in the Sun. I've used Sun Tangrowth before. Because you get the growth, and you're doubling your speed is really nice. I don't know exactly what it outspeeds, but you have Polt, so...
Yeah, you've got the good speed control of Polt. What I like with this team is it's got some really good pivots. Like, your top 3 Mons are all pivoting. If you need to, Metachan can run BP. Your defensive Mons, Vaporeon can pivot. And, like, Vaporeon plus Tangrowth, not a lot. Like, it's going to be difficult to break those. And then you add in Corv and Clef. Hopefully, I would really like to see more like offensive Clefable come with this team, because you have your other Mons that can be defensive. I would like to see like a Life Orb 3 attacks Clefable come off more than opposed to like the regular soft boiled rocks knockoff.
I see
stuff like that.
I see a lot of teleport Clef on this team, because if you think about it, like a lot of the stuff that'll switch into Clef, Mega Medi beats. So if you can baton pass and Mega Medi and then click a button, you're like, that's like your bread and butter on this team, I think. I don't really have much else to say. I honestly could have rated this team higher. I feel like the offense could have been rated higher, but it doesn't make too much of a difference. So moving on, we got Jaden with the page that's really hard to look at, to be honest.
We had a lot of fun going through Jaden's page. I mean, just look at that Landorus. I mean, like, come on now. But on a real note, this team's offense is kind of insane. Mega Blaziken doesn't have a lot of switch-ins, and then it speed boosts and cleans at the end. Weavel's great. Latios is great because it can be both offensive and still be defensive. Lando I doesn't have many switch-ins. Celesteela goes hard. And then you have some like actually like valuable lower Mons like Xurkitree, Thwackey, and Quillfish. I'm a big fan of Quillfish and Thwackey and Florges, really.
I actually really like Vigoroth as a bulky normal with
See, that's where we disagree.
Well, as Slack Off Encore, for like a 1-point Mon, I've seen Vigoroth do a bunch of work.
Fair enough.
And if you could taunt and then like somehow pivot into your higher point Mons, you're pretty set to like kind of set up yourself with like Weavile or Lottie or Lando, Celesteela sometimes. On this team though, I feel like Celesteela, Latias are gonna be defensive most weeks. I don't really see much opportunity to run offensive unless you're like a defensive sort of weakness policy. Because both mons are really good with weakness policy, and you don't really need too much other boosting with it. So you could kind of run like a defensive set that can turn into offense late game if you set it up right.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. And I guess there's the Florges that can kind of wish or defog. I don't really like Florges that much, and I don't think it's going to be wish passing like at all, unless it's into like. I think I can see him wish passing into like Celesteela or Landorus sometimes, but for the most part, it's going to be supporting itself, which is fine. You can run Synthesis and you can fit Defog pretty easily, since your other removal is Blaziken, Latias, and Lando, which, other than Latias, you don't really want to run Defog on those. Yeah. And yeah, Quillfish is also cool for this team. It's pretty good at suicide leads with spikes, T-spikes. And with his offense, you don't really have to worry about people trying to click defog versus you, because that just gives Jaden free turns to click like
in a thread or set up or something.
Yeah, he could sub or whatever. So it's pretty cool in that regard. Xurkitree's pretty cool. I think Xurkitree's the Z-Mon. You can't really see it because it's covered. And I think Vigoroth is the other Z-Mon. I don't really know why it's Vigoroth, but I guess with Xurkitree you don't really have points for anything else. I think Jaden will think of something. He has a pretty creative mind.
Yeah, Z-Hypnosis is pretty cool. It's a pretty good Scarfer as well. The offense of this team is good. The defense isn't there, but that's kind of what you get when you draft so many top tier threats.
Right. Like,
and I think he did do a good job of getting value out of his low point mons with Thwacky, Quillfish, and 1 point Vigoroth has value. So.
Right. I think we're about halfway. We got a tie with Jaden, which is kind of funny because they were kind of feuding quite a bit during the draft, and I think it's funny how their overall scores end up being the same. So we got the Rage with this, whatever you call it, and it's pretty alright defensively. He has a lot of pretty fat mons. He also has two Wish Passers. Audino is really good. Togekiss is pretty alright at Wish to keep Rotom and Blastoise healthy. Audino and Glowking are really good together because Glowking will come in on fighting types and take the fighting hit. They regen with each other really well. You could also go Togekiss if your fighting type has like a really good knockoff or a really strong knockoff that Glowking doesn't like. So they synergize together pretty well, I think. And then you got Zamazenta and Garchomp with the offense. I think both of them kind of lose to like some of the same things, like bulky waters somewhat, and then like sometimes bulky grasses, like I don't know, a Tangrowth or something.
I like Zamacy. Slowking is solid. I haven't seen Garchomp been used well lately. It always seems to kind of underwhelm. I think it'd be better on this team if it run like Scarf Chomp or like Defensive Chomp most weeks, which I think is fine.
On this team, I feel like if you don't run Offensive Chomp, then your only offense is like Zamazenta, like Mega Toys, and that's like not very great. And nothing else is like really threatening unless you're set up with like Togekiss or Rotom Heat. Like,
he's got some good like nasty plot users like Plot Rotom, Celebi, Togekiss, Moltres. They're all like decent things, and I would really like to see like offensive Togekiss come a lot more. Um,
Yeah, offensive Togekiss is like,
yeah.
it's really good at tilting people, and if you can tilt your opponent, that's like, I don't know, I feel like that adds to a lot of mind games. Um, Especially if you have like weird setup options in the back, like Celebi or Moltres or Rotom. I think the biggest complaint I have with this team is that other than Chomp and Zamazenta, everything is just very special. Like if you have a
Hmm.
good special wall, um, you kind of just sit there. And luckily he has, I think, maybe the best special wall in the game with Glow King, but if he's facing like a Milotic, I don't see how he wins without having to PP stall. If it's like, I don't even know what Milotic could do. It could run like Mono Scald or like Ice Beam with Recover
Hmm.
Haze Toxic, and this team kind of just falls apart. Um, Along
Yeah.
with your opponent also having 5 other Mons to deal with the offense you have with Toys and Zama and Chomp.
Hmm. This team changed a lot through the free agents. I would have liked to see Slowbro stay on this team over Glow King.
Mm.
I think it pairs a little bit better. I don't like the shared ground type weakness with Zama.
Yeah, I also
Um,
like the teleport a lot more on this team, I think. And
mhm.
it allows him to go like an offensive poison if he wanted to, like a um I can't think of an offensive poison, wow. Like
I think it's fine. I'm not a fan of Celebi. Um, I would have looked to maybe swap Celebi and I guess Megastoys with something a little bit more threatening.
I think Megastoice is really threatening, but most teams will have like a dedicated switch into it, like a water absorb mon, and then Blastoise kind of can't do anything unless it's like subtoxic. And if it's
Yeah, and I
subtoxic,
think
then it's lacking coverage for the rest of the team.
mm, yeah, just an FYI, this is the 9th spot, so Rage is 9th.
So yep, we're about
This is
halfway through now.
not. Yep.
So coming in at number 8, we got Fletch Head, who does not have a gift because there's not one that exists for some reason.
Yeah, I tried to look, but I didn't really see anything that I like.
I'm sorry, Fletch. This
Fletch
seems,
Discord gifts don't have for Fletch.
yeah, this seems, I think, pretty cool. I've actually used somewhat of like Rillaboom, Latias, Scrafty, Arcanine on a team before, and it's pretty bare bones and like pretty basic, I think, but I think it works pretty well.
Yeah, I think the one problem that this team has is that Scar and Peck both share like the significant electric weakness.
Yeah.
Your electric resists are Rillaboom, which doesn't usually want to, but it can run like AV Rillabooms, like a set for sure. Megalodios, which again, decent. It can be bulky and be an electric
A lot of electric
switching. But like a lot of electric types, you just Volt Switch out on it, or you turn out on it. Diggersby isn't a bulky ground.
Scrafty
Yeah,
is also
so
a pretty good pivot, but if you're running Assault Vest Scrafty, then like it's not really doing anything offensively, and it kind of just sits there and dies eventually.
like this is one of those teams where I look at like Zeraora and I'll be like, Zeraora would have a great matchup here. Kind of like a mix set with Volt Switch would look really good.
Yeah.
What are some of the other Tapu Koko? Rillabooms are pretty good Koko switching, but then it just U turns out as you come in. And yeah. But I think this team's cool. I like the hail option, both with Z is kind of cool. I've used like offensive Alola Ninetales before, either with like plot or like even like a Scarf Blizzard set. That's cool.
Yeah, sometimes you forget that Ninetales can plot because usually it clicks Veil or it clicks Blizzard, and it doesn't really do anything else.
Yeah, and Hypnosis with a Z. It could Z Hypnosis as well.
Yeah.
Cool Mon. I like Diggersby. Big fan of Diggersby.
Yeah,
Big
everyone
fan of
loves Diggersby.
Scrafty. I like Thundy on this team a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of complaints about this team. I think it's cool. I think pivots are decent with Rillaboom, Arcanine, Diggersby. Yeah, I agree. I think you've got your two huge defensive anchors in Skarmory and Pex, which can come every week. You probably bring Megalodi every week and Rillaboom every week, and then you pick your other two, whether you want your Hail Cores, your 5 and 6, or you want like a Scrafty and Thundy. But yeah.
Yeah. I haven't actually seen Alolan Sandslash like ever, so I'm very interested to see how it performs. I think it's gonna do pretty well, especially with like Arcanine being one of the better fire types to support the offense with the hail, like breaking those steals down. Because as a fighting type, Scrafty doesn't really do it for you. Rillaboom only gets like super power, and like Latias gets Aura Sphere, I guess. But like other than that, you have like Diggers.
Yeah, I can see this team struggling a little bit maybe with breaking steals, but
I love Scrafty, but I feel like you could also maybe get away with like something
like a Hitmontop or something like that would have been better.
Yeah, like a Hitmontop. I was thinking Pangoro.
Yeah, I would like
someone
that
else I think has it, but if you're looking for more offense, I feel like you would rather have more special offense though, because other than Thundy and Megalodi, you don't really have like special offense either. It's not horrible.
I guess, but Megalodi's pretty good. Thundy's pretty good.
Yeah,
you have the Ninetales option.
Yeah, the ones you do have are good.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Steven, who I think has the most cringe mons ever. Mega Dianthy, Kyurem, cringe. Rotomose, cringe. Silvally and Gligar are pretty cool. Jirachi's cringe. Volcanion's kind of cringe. But yeah. Anyways, Steven has really good offense. I think his top 5 actually work really well at breaking shit for each other. He has a lot of options for Scarf, Specs, Band. I feel like he could easily bring like 3 choice items every week, and it's gonna set up his Mega Diancie to win. Unfortunately, I do think he's almost forced into Scarfs because his speed tiers are like not super great. 110 being the highest isn't like the worst thing ever, but if I feel like your 110, if it's gonna be your highest speed tier, you'd probably also want it to be a Scarfer. But because it's a Mega, you can't Scarf. You'd have to like Rock Polish to increase your speed. But it's not horrible because Scarf Jirachi, Scarf Gyarados are like really good. Scarf Kyurem even. And even like Rotom kind of works, or Silvally. He has a lot of Scarfers. Yeah. I don't really like Rotom because as an electric and a grass in the same mon, both trying to break through waters, I don't really find it super effective, but you also have Kyurem, which is the best freeze dry mon anyone can ask for. So it works out. And you have Silvally as well if you feel like running Silvally. I think Silvally Grass and Silvally Electric are pretty underrated.
Yeah, Silvally Electric's one of my favorite ones to bring.
Yeah,
I really like Gligar on this team. I think it pairs really well. I think he did a good job. I like Weezing as well. Sableye is probably the only thing I don't like. Volcanion's cool, especially if you bring like a Flame Charge set. It's the Zmon, so I believe it gets Solar Beam, right? It can Z Solar Beam?
Yeah, I think you get Solar Beam, you get Sludge Wave.
yeah, it gets a lot of cool options there. So
Mm.
kind of like that. I think obviously like the speed tiers are a problem, but I think if you have enough mons that can run Scarf, then that's not really an issue. The only thing would be your base 140 or 150 mons are going to be running Jolly and Timid against you. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But again, Mega Diancie is one of the best rock polish mons in the game. So.
And I think he has enough breakers to where Diancie can easily set up and sweep. And a lot of his team scares a lot of really fast mons, like stuff like Pult and like Crobat or Jolteon, like whatever fast mons there are, his team scares them pretty well. So if he can get rid of them, Mega Diancie doesn't even have to rock polish. You can run like Calm Mind even, if you can set it up right. The one bad thing I would say about this team, and it's not bad, I guess, but like I think the defense is kind of just passive in general. Like Rotom-Mow, I feel like it's walled by a lot of things. Gligar doesn't break subs on like anything. Weezing also is pretty passive. Sableye is also passive, although Prankster kind of helps it. It's not like horrible though.
Yeah.
And I think like Ryan said, Gligar works pretty well as a pivot.
Yeah, I like it as a pivot. Jirachi and Zapdos, great pivots. Rotom kind of adds to that. Savali adds to that. Right. I think this team's going to really rely on boots. With Kyurem and Volcanion needing boots. Removal's decent. I don't really like Rotom-Mow as a removal option, but Gligar's really good. Savali can usually fit it as one of its moves, and you have a good magic bouncer.
Yeah, defensive Savali is really good, especially on this team, because if you can kind of set up a parting shot into one of your, like any of your top 5, you're pretty golden. And yeah, I think moving on, we got True Kyoto with a lot of stuff. It's another one of those.
This is in the 6th spot.
It's kind of offensively focused, I think. With a
Liberace
lot of defense being
is really good. Tapu Koko is pretty good. Hydreigon, it's a good pairing with Koko. Mega Aggron's fat. Mamoswine's an amazing breaker. Manaphy, is that Tailglow Manaphy?
Yep.
That's a good mon. Superior, big fan of Superior because it's often really low in points, so I think you get a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, and especially
Kamala for like 3 points is great. Hitmonlee with Koko is a decent unburden option, and Galar
Slowbro is like the mon that wins games. So if Kyoto decides to not run Quick Draw like he did week 1, he'll start winning games. I think he actually won week 1, but like, don't run Quick Draw, please. I'll cry. Just run Regen. But yeah, I really do like Superior on this team because he has a lot of options that scares off and breaks through a lot of stuff that would normally have to come in on Serp. Like Mamoswine can kind of break through like steals. Hydreigon can kind of just sit there on like fire types. Mamoswine can break through fire types.
Yeah, especially I think I really like it pairing with Cinderace. A lot of bulky waters are going to come against Liberace, and then you can just U-turn out into your Leaf Storm Mon and try and sweep from there. I think one of the main problems with this team is a ground resist. It's Superior and then Levitate Hydreigon. And given that you have Koko, Cinderace, Slowbro, Mega Aggron, those are good mons that could come most weeks.
Something
You're
like
gonna struggle there.
Something like a
could
just like kind of break Like a
Yeah,
scarf.
like a Scarf Nidoking or like a sub Nidoking kind of goes in. Yeah.
Yeah, Aggron I feel like always takes like any ground hit though. I've like
Yep.
never seen that thing get O-code.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of annoying. Unfortunately, I feel like you kind of want a better Wish Passer with Aggron. I think Aggron works best with like a Togekiss or a Sylveon or something like that. And because your Wish Passer is Komala, you're not going to have a lot of longevity with Aggron, especially if your opponent stacks hazards on you, because I feel like none of these Mons, he has like 5 removal options, which are like okay, but none of them are really known to just run defog or spin, which could be.
Yeah, that's true.
But your offense is also so good that you probably won't have to worry about hazard stack. But versus some of those Mons that will just click hazards, it might end up being a problem at some point. But games should be pretty fast anyways. And you got regen with Glowbro. So moving on. Oh, it's me.
Wow. Whack in the 5 spot.
Yeah, this is. I feel like this doesn't look like a Wacka team. I mean, there's an eel, but it doesn't look like a Wacka team. There's no Wish Pass.
There's no
like,
Wish Pass.
There's like 8 billion Mons that click U-turn though.
So lots of pivoting, which I like. I think Naga's a cool Mon. Even without plot, you can do some funny things. Whether like you can go like Specs or Life Orb and be speed boosting. You just do Scarf and then be special attack boosting and try and sweep that way. It's still a really good Mon. Plus, it gets spikes and T-spikes if you're trying to be funny one week.
I mean, like, not even funny, but just being able to set up, like, a Necrozma sweep or a Mega Lopunny sweep to get, like, rolls on certain Mons that could work. Or, like, a Scarf is a rude clean. Or, like, a Bullet Punch Scissor. There's, like, a lot of stuff I have that can kind of set up and win. Mega Lop doesn't like set up in that regard, but you know what I mean. It's pretty nice. I don't really need like Wish with this team because a lot of it has either self-recovery or they're just going to be like coming in and clicking a button and then switching out. I feel like after I've used Necrozma in SPS, I've found out that Necrozma is just kind of a broken defensive piece if you were to run it defensively. It's also pretty broken offensively, but like defensively with Prism Armor, it just like does not give a shit about stuff like Mega Gallade or just a lot of fighting types. Mienshao does like nothing to it.
It can be Totemized with Meteor Beam, it can be Dragon Dance, it can be Calm Mind, so it's got plenty of offensive options. It can be defensive, like with Moonlight, Knockoff, Rocks, Photon Geyser, and that's still a great set. It's a great Mon. I love that Mon. I think this team did a really good job of pairing things with like Feeney and Scissor. So like if you wanted the main things that are going to come, because most teams are going to be like, how do I make sure I don't get set up on by Feeney and lose to Draining Kiss, with the bulky grass types and the other bulky waters, and like maybe a offensive electric, and I think Moltres and Palossand do a good job there. I really like the low tier Palossand pick. Good Mon. Eel's great as like an AV set. Good Mon. I think Eel and Feeney would be the 2 Mons that would have really benefited from Wish on this team. But everything else gets its own recovery or is just clicking an offensive move and then getting out anyway. So
right, and even like Feeney with Draining Kiss or like Eel with like Giga Drain or Drain Punch works out pretty well. And usually from my experience using Eel, it kind of just pivots around
It takes
until
a
it
hit.
dies. It's a really good
Yep.
scout as well because it doesn't have a weakness. It's also, I wouldn't say it's like insanely bulky, but it's bulky enough where you can come in like once or twice and see what is going on, and then you click U-turn, you get your slow U-turn out. You go into Lop or Naganadel or Zarude or whatever the fuck you feel like going into, and you just kind of go from there. I think Feeney might have some issues with feeling like it has to come to a lot of games because, which isn't a bad thing, but it's gonna have to stay healthy in those games, which might be a problem because a lot of this team gets like U-turn, and a lot of the team that clicks U-turn does not like stuff like Flame Body or Rocky Helmets. Like mostly Scissors are rude. If they get burned, that's not a good thing. If Mega Lopunny gets burned, that's not good.
Yeah, this could have really benefited from like a heal bell.
Right,
user.
and Mega Lopunny being the only heal bell is like not super great.
I think one other thing I would say, I think like another mon that can just slap a choice item would have been nice.
Right.
Obviously Naga is great at that, and I'm a big fan of like Bandit, Scissor also. Scissor and Zarude can both run bans. I would have liked one other thing, even if it's like a low tier mon, that your opponent at least has to be like, okay, this low tier, if they put a specs on it, then it's kind of a threat. But like right now, I wouldn't be scared of any of your low, like I wouldn't be scared of Eel, Palossand, Lunatone, and generally I wouldn't be scared of Moltres unless I'm Jacky. But yeah, I would have liked a low tier. Yeah, I would have liked one low tier offensive mon. Maybe something better than Lunatone there.
Yeah, but Lunatone is just kind of, I'm not even sure why I have it. It's just kind of like, it's just another like flying resist, I guess, since Scissor is the steel and Eel is a good electric, but it could be better. And it's just another mon. It gets like rock polish into Meteor Beam, and I think for 1 point, if Lunatone can set up, you can kind of win. I've actually lost to Lunatone before. I'm not proud of it, but I will admit it. I think the last thing is I think Scissor will have to be defensive a lot of the time because, especially without Wish Pass, Eel is not like the most reliable thing to just pivot into things. And if I lose Eel in some games without a Spadef Scissor or something like that, I could just kind of lose. Unless I learn for once how to play offensively. That's more like a Wacka problem though. Anyways, moving on is you.
It's me at number 4.
Do you see the glasses on your left ear?
He's got the cool, the keys, man. The keys are cool. He's dripping. He's got the gold chains. I really like my team. It's got a mix of mons I haven't used in a while, plus mons I'm familiar with. I've got a lot of pivots. I know Whacker put in his comments, and I'm sure he's going to say it again. It's a weird last couple mons, and I get that. But I feel really comfortable bringing any of my mons, maybe except Type Null, like every single week.
Yeah, like I've seen the way you've used Raikou. I don't know how you make Raikou look good, but you do. You even make a Fortress look pretty good. I think Fortress is pretty good, but I also think that it will get fire spun by the Altaria that someone left. And then like Barraskewda's a water is like kind of weird, but you also have a good defensive dragon that deals with a lot of stuff Barraskewda would supposedly deal with as a water type.
The thing I would normally need to bring a defensive water for, I can generally bring a defensive Druddigon for, or like a defensive Mega Venusaur for.
Yeah, because Mega Venusaur Thick Fat is like pretty insane. It's like basically a fire resist, just because of how bulky it is in general. And
Yep.
between your offenses as well, you just kind of screw out things that a bulky water would usually be there for. I don't know. Do you want to explain why you have Klefki and Fortress? Because both of them just kind of, they're both weird steel types that click spikes and defog or spin.
Yep. I think Klefki was my original plan when I had the first 6, and then I wanted Drudagon too. And then I was like, okay, my removal is not good, and I don't want to have to bring Rocks Lando. So then my hazards are only like Spikes Klefki. So I wanted to get something else that had hazards and could either spin or defog. And Fortress was there. So that kind of fits, like even though it's a double. Yeah, even though it's another steel.
Yeah.
Fortress and Klefki are my only fire weaknesses because thick fat Mega Venusaur, so it's not like I'm really adding to that.
Yeah, I would say Klefki isn't like a real steel type really, because it's fairy typing kind of just adds to it, doesn't resist steel itself. It's not weak to
Klefki I think of as my fairy resist, as my psychic resist on the special side. While Fortress, it kind of just takes on anything physical that isn't a fire move.
Yeah.
Week 1, I brought it as my Zygarde 50% check because it tanks 1,000 arrows.
Yeah.
It tanks on a hit.
Both those mons together like really well.
Yeah, and I don't think I brought spikes on either of them. So
yeah.
I think the one bigger problem with my team is special offense. Right now it's kind of just Big and Raikou.
I think Calm Mind Landorus Therian is like really scary versus a lot of these teams. Because you'll come in and intimidate the physical attacker, then you'll Calm Mind, you'll wall special attackers, and then you're hitting hard with Earth Power and Psychic, and you're breaking through a lot of what stuff would switch in on Lando T, like Tangrowth, you get Sludge Bomb for that. I think it's pretty cool in that regard. And Type Null is also, you could kind of run Type Null especially offensive. Like, I don't know if you get like I don't think you get the Still Valley coverage, but you get like Tri Attack, and its special attack is not bad.
Yeah.
Tri Attack hacks in general will be really scary versus teams because they want their team healthy for Shifu and Lando. And Scuda, hopefully.
Yeah, Barraskewda has kind of disappointed me already. Running against Amanda Buzz with Waterium Z, and that did like no damage. But what I really wanted was an Aqua Jetmon, with both Blaziken and Mega Blaziken being there. Things like Liberace. Priority was a thing that I really wanted to make sure. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I had an Aqua Jetmon. Shifu obviously gets Sucker Punch. So those are 2 big things I wanted to make sure I had, because of all these vast, big threats.
Yeah, if it weren't for those like big threats, I feel like you could probably get away with Inteleon, because that could add to like your special offense. You get a good mono and like effects. I wouldn't recommend it though, because Inteleon like it's good in like a lot of matchups until you see the bulky water, and then it only comes to like 3 games. But Barraskewda is like really good in most matchups because of its coverage, speed.
And then I can Z close combat to break some decent things. If it's like bulky grass, I can Z Poison Jab.
Yeah, if you're trying to break through, well, I mean, I have Feeney, but if you want to break through Feeney, you get like Z Poison Jab.
Yeah. Slowbro would be Z Crunch, yada yada yada.
Yeah. So I think you have an unorthodox team, but I think it's pretty good. It's just a lot of, I don't know what the hell to make of that. Moving on,
keys.
we got, according to you, one of the more boring drafts. We got Greninja, Mega Gallade, Zapdos, Metagross, Swampert, Incineroar, Roserade, Comfey, Licky Licky, Lakitu, and Pachirisu. It's supposed to be moved over.
I thought this was kind of boring because I looked at it and I was like, Protean Gran, Mega Gallade, okay, and I kept going through each one. I was like, I'm not really scared of this. But then I looked over it again and I was like, that's a good mon, that's a good mon, that's a good mon. There's no bad pick here outside of maybe Altaria. Like, I like Pachirisu as a low tier. I think it's great with Super Fang Nuzzle.
I think that's where I disagree with you. I think Altaria is great, especially in matchups where you want it to, like, you could trap things. It's also pretty good at clicking defog. It's pretty fat. You get natural cure, so you can come in on toxic, click heal bell or whatever, and then switch out. It's kind of passive, I guess, but you also get Dragon Dance, and like you can kind of make it work with that as well. You also get Haze.
Yeah, Dragon Dance, that base 70 attack.
Have you not seen Dragon Dancing Altaria and Oras? Or like Gold or something? Like,
I thought Altaria was so cool when I first saw its design. Then I was like, wait, this mon is not strong at all.
It's just kind of a defensive mon that, like, instead of, it's like Mandibuzz, but without the dark typing.
Yep.
And without U-turn. Like, it's not bad. I think Altaria is great, but we're talking about Altaria instead of talking about like Zapdos or like whatever the fuck else is on this team. I think this team is pretty basic. Like you look at Swampert and Incineroar, like those are basic mons you kind of think of as like a good bulky water, a good fire, dark that pivot around. Zapdos is like a premier electric type. Mega Gallade is like the premier fighting type, I guess. Like, you kind of have a bunch of basic stuff, but it's a bunch of basic stuff that works well together. And kind of like what I said with Edster, you have Comfey that can bring in a lot of Mega Gallade's threats. Or rather, things that get threatened by Mega Gallade and you can turn into Gallade and click a butt. Or Metagross even. Like, for whatever reason, I've seen Metagross 6-0 like 18s in the last few weeks. So,
yeah,
that's pretty cool. Having spikes with Roserade is also pretty cool. Although I think Roserade is like kind of hard to bring to some matchups. But you have a lot of good options to deal with like steel types that'll just kind of invalidate it. And you get Sleep Powder too, which is cool, and it's another natural cure mon if Altaria is the most broken thing ever.
I think pivots are great. You got offensive pivots with Gren, defensive pivots with Zapdos, Swampert, and Incineroar. Great pivots with Comfey. You've got a great Wish supporter for things like Metagross, Pert, and Incineroar, which really, really do appreciate that Wish. I'm going to be interested to see what you do with Gren. Protean Gren's a threat, but I haven't quite seen it kind of do enough work for me to be like, oh wow, this is a great mon. So that's what I'm going to be looking for to see how you do with that. But this is a really good team without any like bad picks at all.
It doesn't have any major holes, even with like fitting on Altaria and Pachirisu instead of like, I don't know what you could fit in there for those points, like a Guzzlord or something as a dragon. Like those two mons can work. Pachirisu, you get like Super Fang and Nuzzle, which is pretty good for crippling things that would deal with like Gallade or Greninja. Since Greninja is like, if your opponent has priority, you kind of die.
Yeah.
Mega Gallade doesn't really like priority as much either. There's a lot of mons that randomly get like a shadow sneak, like Alolan Muck or Decidueye or like whatever. But overall, I think one of the most balanced teams on the this season. And
I really like how the team was almost built as if it kind of ignored Gren. As in, you got a secondary water type, you got a secondary dark type.
Yeah, I really like
It's
that.
almost like you created a full team and then just added Gren on top of that. And I think that's where you can get a lot of success. It's not like you're drafting this big uber threat and then you're having to build your team around its weaknesses and strengths. You're drafting a fully competent team on its own and then adding this big threat to it. And I think that's where a lot of this team strength comes from.
Yeah. And overall, I just love the balance of this team. Anyways, moving on, we got Super Person at number 2.
Number 2.
Who, on this team looks bad, but it's only because it's backwards, because it's Australian moment. But I really like this team with, it has a lot of good speed control with Kartana, Dio Speed, Blaziken, Mega Manectric. And you have a lot of good defense with Blissey, Weezing, Mandibuzz, Zygarde, Blastoise, even. Well, Zygarde and Blastoise could go like either or offense, defense, which is something I also like. Blissey on this team is a pretty good addition because a lot of what will kill Kartana are just going to be a lot of fast special attackers, and they won't run like. They probably won't run stuff like Psyshock because they'd rather have Psychic to kill Kartana. So you don't even really have to worry too much about that. You also have Mandibuzz that can come in on like Psyshock special attackers for Blissey. So I really like that synergy there. And then you also have, with a mon that doesn't resist fighting like Mandibuzz, you have Galarian Weezing to eat like every fighting hit.
Yep.
So I love the synergy there, and Blissey can wish pass into Weezing pretty well too, when it kind of lures in all the fighting types. You just kind of wish into Weezing, and then your Weezing is back at full, which is something I really like.
Yeah, Blaziken is great. I'm interested to see how you do with that. It's allowed to set up, which is super cool.
Yeah.
I like the pairing of Blissey, Mandibuzz, Weezing. Pairs really well together. I think the only complaint I would have is I don't like Mega Manectric here. I think with both Blaziken and Zygarde, you see bulky waters kind of come against them. I would have liked, and like Kartana's a great grass type, but it's more of like a scarf cleaning mon as opposed to a breaker.
Yeah.
And I think you could have used something to break those fat water types for Blaziken a little bit better, and I'm not a big Mega Manectric fan.
Yeah, it's like if you can't bring Mega Manectric, a good bulky water can kind of just sit here, especially because if you see a Blastoise, you're probably going to bring a bulky water anyways because you don't want to lose to Shell Smash. Something like a Vaporeon can kind of just sit here on this team and click Scald.
Yep.
Especially versus Zygarde and Blaziken. But Mega Manectric isn't bad.
Definitely not.
It forces excuse me. It forces a lot of like grounds and dragons to come, which you can beat with Kartana or Weezing or Zygarde, which is cool.
Again, I just want to stress again, Mandibuzz Blissey is really good. Slow pivots, they tank a hit, you pivot out, and bring in whichever threat is best.
Right.
Yeah. And Dio Speed.
Mm-hmm.
Dio Speed's good.
Dio Speed I see probably being more of a hazard support, especially because your other hazards are like only Weezing and Blissey, and I think from my experience using Glaring Wheezing, it would rather fit like Pain Split or Defog more than T-Spikes.
Mm-hmm.
Or like you want the either dual stab plus flamethrower as well.
I kind of disagree there. I think Dio speed on this team would just be like a 4 attacks with like 4 coverage moves that kind of just hit all the things. Your Ice Beam, T-Bolt, Flamethrower plus Psycho Boost, or it can be like a knockoff kind of.
Well, I was saying
something like that.
If you want Kartana or Blaziken to work endgame, you're probably going to be forced to run Spikes Dio a few times because you want the chip on your opponents. I think in a way it's almost a good thing because I don't see a lot of people caring to run boots versus this team, especially if you can set up those spikes and your opponent isn't running boots because they're more scared of seeing like a nasty flat Dio speed. It's pretty cool at getting chip. It's kind of a weird thing that almost works. Overall, not a bad team at all. I mean, they got number 2, so. Anyways, I think we all know, and I think you know who's first. Yep. You know it. Anyway, I put the cringe. I like how both of the top 2 teams have a Manectric on it. Do you want to start with this one?
You know, at number 1, this team is good. It's Ashgren needs to get a kill in order to be good, but you have great options to weaken things down. Mega Scizor Gliscor is a great core. You add Mew and Como to that, it's even better. I love Nihilego on this team. Either the Meteor Beam sweeping set, Scarf cleaning set, or like even like a spec set. Great. Even though I'm not a Whimsicott fan, it's got good value here. Prankster Defog, fast, U-turns, good. Manectric, personally not a fan. If I could change anything about this team, it would be to change Manectric, Flareon, and Duosion into something useful. But even then, it's not bad. Kangaskhan is a low-tier normal. Great, good Wish Passer. Still has enough stuff to be offensive.
I've seen a lot of Scarf Kang lately.
Yeah, like fake out double edge with a Silk Scarf. Good. Choice Scarf Kang, fine. Gets fighting coverage, gets ground coverage. Good mon.
Good speed tier as well.
But it's really the top 6 on this team that kind of does it. Got a lot of 4 times weaknesses, but it's good.
Yeah, it has a lot of 4 times weaknesses, but if you can force out like the Ice Beams versus Gliscor and the D-Gleams and the Moonblast on Komodo, you go into Scizor, you go into Komodo on the Flamethrowers. You might struggle a little bit with like those mons like Glow King that'll just run Ice Beam and Flamethrower for like all of them, but like that's like one mon on one team that you'd have to like really worry about with all those 4 times weaknesses being dealt with by like one mon really. And then you have like Mew that can kind of sit there and like stall break. I think
I love it that you have multiple defog options like Scizor and Gliscor, both great defoggers, multiple hazard mons, Gliscor, Como, Nihilego, great rockers, that Mew doesn't have to fill any of those roles. So you can run your D-Dance Mew, you can run your Plot Mew very easily on this team.
I love how much this team lets Mew do what it wants. It's kind of unorthodox in a way, like T-Spikes, Nihilego, and Greninja aren't like the greatest things ever, but they can get the job done if you feel like doing that. Like you run T-Spikes like 2 games out of the 9 or 10 a season really. And then Spikes Gren, and then you get 3 rockers. Komodo's a really good rocker. Especially because you can kill every flying type with Manectric.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I like some of the low tiers. They could be better. I could see upgrading Duosion. You could, in a way, you could downgrade Manectric into like Electabuzz. I think Electabuzz is better because Electabuzz gives you screens and a Violite, so it's bulky. Manectric is cool too because it gets a flamethrower and overheat, and you can break through steel types easier, especially because like Komo is more. Well, not on this team specifically. You have a lot of options, but it's a good defensive mon that if you want to keep it healthy, you usually run like Drain Punch or something like that. And Nihiligo will also struggle with steel types, but you have stuff like Biscore, Komo, Mega Scissor to deal with those. I think some of the low tiers can shine, but they could also be better. I don't see any point to Duosion on this team other than it being like kind of goated.
Yeah, the psychic type isn't necessary. I think one thing that could be better that I really liked with the Protean Gren team was that secondary water and secondary dark type.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this isn't Protean, so it's not switching its type. It's staying dark and water, but it's not bulky for either types. So that's something I would have liked, especially like your water type switch in is Whimsicott, Como, and Gren. And I think Whimsicott isn't the greatest at that. Gren isn't the greatest, so it's kind of forced into Como.
Especially when your normal type is Kang. Like, Kang isn't bad, but it's not as good as the top 6 in terms of bringing it to games to deal with like ghost types. Mm-hmm. If there was like a better normal, I could justify just saying drop Duosion for like a bulky water or like a low tier water, like I don't know, Palpitoad or something. But
yeah,
on this team it's a little bit tougher to decide if I feel like there should be a dark type there or if it should be a water.
Yep.
I guess you could argue you could probably drop Flareon too, but having a fire type is also nice.
Yeah, but even with all those mistakes, or not mistakes, but things that could be better, this seems really good. If you let Gren get its Battle Bond, then it kind of just cleans, and it can run Shuriken for priority, so even Scarfers aren't really great for it. SD Mega Scizor or even Curse Mega Scizor is great. I've seen SD Gliscor be amazing. Maybe you can bring it, set up Mew, you never know what's coming. ED Como, or even like Throat Spray, Atomize Como. You can bring that. Nihiligo, one of my most favorite mons in Draft League. Love that thing. Mm-hmm. That top 6 is just really good.
Be a win con with like Subleech.
Subleech Encore, something like that.
Yeah. Then there's those matchups versus. There was a few teams that I thought were like really slow that Manectric could abuse. There's also a Flareon that's pretty good at breaking. I just think a lot of good options that make up a good number 1 team, even with its flaws. There's no perfect team. And as you can see, the number 1 team is like 7.5 points better than the lowest team. So I think everyone did a really good job drafting. And hopefully it'll be a good season. Hopefully it'll be pretty close.
Yeah.
The standings, I think if I did those right, there's a few of them I maybe forgot to update. No, it looks like I got those. Yeah, so that should be it. There's a lot of ties actually.
Yeah, lots of ties.
But everyone was pretty close. And
yeah, looking forward to this season. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I don't know, off of the top of your head, what mon do you think will be the MVP this season?
Ooh. So, just to not be biased, I'm not going to include my keys.
I was going to say, if you say Club Keys, I'm ending the video right now.
Hmm. I think that one's a bit tough, but I think based on usage, I think it might end up being Jaden's Landorus.
That's what I was thinking as well. I don't know
Even
why.
if he doesn't end up like first place, or like even if he ends up like only how many weeks are we doing? 8, 9, 10,
9 weeks.
9. Even if he ends up like 5 and 4, I think Landorus will still be at like the top of the kill leaderboard. It's
Yeah.
gonna go like get 3 kills almost every match, especially the way he plays.
Yeah, the
Um,
way he's playing, like, he's gonna bring that Scarf Lando, like, a lot. And I don't know, I feel like as of recently, Lando I is, like, fallen off of people's heads as, like, a good top threat. That I think it still is. I just think everyone's running the wrong set. You should run Scarf Lando I. No bias or anything, but run Scarf Lando I and you'll start winning games, maybe.
mhm.
Who do you think will win this season?
Ooh. Um,
Like,
I gotta go with the first place team in the
yeah,
rankings.
I
I
have
think,
high hopes
yeah.
for you. Know, I think you also are a good contender. Um, John Paul is a good contender if he tries. Uh, Although I think in both of our hearts we really want Jeg to win.
Oh, of course, Team Jag.
We need Jeg to win with his 0.
Although he's gonna have to catch these hands week 2.
He saw that I won last season with healerless because my flying resist. Maybe he just wanted to try that out. Anyways, this video is like an hour and a half long. I'm almost
Jesus.
losing my voice. Thank you guys for watching, and uh, I don't know, maybe I'll record videos for my side of the battles and stuff like that.
Thank y'all. Peace.
Thank you, Ryan, for joining me as well.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Alrighty, see you guys later.